Okay, so this is how to do estimation GCSE style questions. Okay, so as soon as you see the word estimate or approximate in your question, okay, you must round your numbers to something a little bit easier. Now, it used to be that you had to round to one significant figure, but that's not the case anymore. Nowadays, you can round to anything that is sensible that makes your sum easier to work out. But they would expect to see you rounded all the numbers. Okay, so typically it will be one significant figure. Okay, although it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. Okay, it must make the sum easier. Okay, so an example of this, all right, that I've seen on papers before. So question one, estimate 325 times 63. And what they'd expect to see is that's about 300. We use the curly equal sign, so it's about this number, about 300 times 60. And we know that 6 times 3 is 18, and we've got the 3 zeros afterwards. So it's about 18,000. Now, this would be an underestimate because I've made this number smaller and this number smaller. So this number is actually smaller than the overall answer. Okay, so question 2. Again, an estimate. Estimate this question. 532 divided by 4.67 times 5.13. Okay, so as I estimate that, curly equal sign, that's about 500 divided by approximately 5 times 5, which is approximately 500 divided by 25, which is 20. Roundabout. Okay. Question 3. Okay. Estimate 200.39 divided by 0.456. Okay. So in this case, you'd say that's approximately 200 divided by 0.5. Now, in order to do this, 0.5 is about a half. And I imagine I've got 200 cakes and I split each one into a half. How many pieces would I have? Well, I'd end up with 400 pieces. So that's my approximation. Okay. Now, final question, question 4. Estimate the square root of 6,352. Okay, now this time, if you were to round it to 6,000, the square root of 6,000 doesn't make my sum any easier. So I'm going to round it to the square root of 6,400. All right, that's because I know that 64 is a square number. Now I can split this up a little bit like some of you will do with surds into the square root of 64 times the square root of 100. So I know that turns out to be 8 times 10, which is about 80. So this is one of those where you had to round it to something a little bit more sensible. Okay. So what we're going to look at now is some actual GCSE questions on this, and they normally require a little bit more thought and normally put some form of context in. So when each question comes up, pause the video, have a go at it, and then I'll go through and mark it with you. Okay, so the first question, here we go. Okay, so have a go at the question, and then we'll go through it together. Right, so this is about £20 a ticket, about 400 tickets. So I'm going to go for 400 times 20, which is about £8,000. Paul paid costs of £6,000. He gave all the money left to charity. An estimate of the money he gave to charity then, I'm going to take the 6,000 off there. So I reckon he's given about £2,000 to charity. Now, is that an over or an underestimate? Well, I've made my tickets more expensive, and I've made my I've actually sold more tickets than I actually have. I've overestimated the number of tickets I've sold. So this £8,000 is too big. Okay, so that is an overestimate. Okay, as I rounded up the ticket cost and the number of tickets. Okay, right. So here's the second question. So it goes on to 2 pages, unfortunately, this one. So there's our garden. We've got 10. Each box covers 46 meters squared of garden. I want to cover the whole garden with grass. Estimate the number of boxes of grass seed I need. So I need to estimate the number of boxes of grass seed. Estimate boxes of grass seed. Okay, so have a go. Pause the video and then we'll go through it. Okay, so what we've got is we're going to have to work out the area, which is pi times r squared. Now pi equals 3.14, which is about 3. So I'm going to assume pi is 3 for this. So I've got 3 times 10 squared, which is 300 meters squared of garden. Now I'm going to say that each box covers approximately 50 meters squared of garden. So that means that this, I'm going to divide that by 50, which gives me about 6 boxes to do. It then asks, is it an over or an underestimate with a reason for my answer? So what I've done is I've actually said that my seed can cover more grass than it actually can. Okay, so as I can cover more grass than it actually can, I'm actually going to need to have slightly more boxes. So I would consider this to be an underestimate, and the reason is because I've had to say that each box would cover more grass than it would. I've rounded up the amount of grass per box. Okay. So question 3. Here we go. Pause the video, have a go, and then we'll talk through it together. Okay, so let's go through it. So 799 students is about 800 students. Denise already has 102 pen sets. That's about 100. She'll need to buy more pen sets. Each pen set costs that, and that's about 90p per pen set. Work out an estimate for the total cost of the pen sets Denise needs to buy. Well, if I take these two away from each other, I need to buy about 700 sets. Okay, so I'm going to do 700 times 90p, which gives me 63,000p. So that's about £630, roughly speaking, that she needs to spend. Okay, it's quite a big chunk of cash, isn't it? Is your answer to A an underestimate or an overestimate? Please give a reason for your answer. So I'm going to say that I've underestimated how many pen sets she's got. I've slightly overestimated how many students. So she doesn't need 700 sets. And I've overestimated the cost of each set. So she doesn't need 700 sets, really. She needs slightly less. And it doesn't cost that much. So that's an overestimate. Okay? Overestimate. As she doesn't need as many sets as I've said. And each set is cheaper. Okay? So I've rounded those up as well. Right, next question. So again, here's a shape made of 2 rectangles. Work out an estimate for the total area of that shape. So if you want to pause the video there, and we'll then work it out together. Okay, so work out the total area of the shape, an estimate. So that's about 2, and that's about 2. So as it's split up, 2 times 2 would give me an estimate of around about 4 centimeters squared. This is about 7. This is about 5. 7 times 5 is an estimate of about 35. So we add those two numbers together to give me an estimate of 39 centimeters squared. Okay, now is that an over or underestimate? So each of these numbers I've rounded down. So as I've rounded them down, my area is going to be actually smaller than it is. So this is an underestimate. Okay, as I have rounded everything down, rounded all numbers down. Okay, so the next question. Again, pause the video when you're ready. A unit of gas costs 4.2 pence. On average, Ria uses 50 users, and she pays for 13 weeks. Okay, pays for 13 weeks. Work out an estimate for the amount that Ria pays. So pause the video, and then we'll go through it. Okay, so that is about 4p per unit. She uses about 50 units a week, and I'm going to say she does it for about 10 weeks. Okay, so this gives me, if I put these together, if I times them together, she uses 200 pence, which is £2 per week. All right, now actually, the 10 weeks, if I use the 10 weeks, gives me an estimate of about £20. But as it's not particularly much harder to do it with 13 weeks, I could get £26, and they'd probably accept either of those two answers. Okay. Now, is that an over or underestimate? Would depend on which of these two solutions you really used. Okay. So for this one, because I've had to round both of these numbers down, so it actually costs slightly more than £2 per week. Okay, I would say that that's an underestimate because I've had to round these numbers down. And in fact, for that one as well, because I've rounded all my numbers down, that's an even bigger underestimate than that one. So they're both underestimates because it should cost more than £2 a week. Only slightly, but it still matters. Okay, question 6. So pause the video, have a go, and then we'll go through it together. Right, okay, so he's travelling around about 3,000 miles, I'm going to say. His average speed is about 15 miles per hour. Race across America for about 8 hours a day. I'm going to leave that as it is because that's a fairly straightforward number to work out. Estimate how many days one will take to complete the race. So 8 hours a day for 15 miles an hour. So I'm going to do 8 times 15 to work out how many miles he does in a whole day. That's 80, add 40, that's 120 miles a day. Now, I'm looking at this and going, well, I need to split that 3,000 into that 120 miles. That's not particularly that easy. Okay, so actually I'm going to say, instead of being 8 hours a day, I'm going to say that's about 10 hours a day. So I'm going to round that up to 10 hours a day, which gives me about 150 miles a day. So therefore, I can just do 3,000 miles divided by 150, which gives me about 20 days, roughly speaking. Okay, so I'm making the sums easier that I can do without a calculator. So one trains for the race, the average speed he can cycle at increases. It is now 16.27 miles an hour. So he's going slightly quicker. How does it affect my answer to part A? Well, he will complete the race in less days because he's going quicker. That's all he wanted to say. As he's going quicker, he's going to complete the race in less days. Okay. So, question 7. Right, so let's have a go at this. Pause the video, have a go yourselves. Okay, so basically he wants us to round it. So that's about 600 divided by, well, that's about 4 squared, which is 16. Add about 5. So I'm going to round the bottom now, because 16 add 5 is about 21. So I'm going to say that's about 600 divided by 20, which gives me a number around about 30-ish. So if you look, Amy's answer is only 3 away from 30, whereas that one is well away. That's in the hundreds. So actually, I'm going to say that Amy is correct. Okay, and that's why, because I've rounded my numbers and made it really simple to work out. So question 8, pause the video, have a go, then we'll work through it together. Okay, so this is about £3 a ticket. That's about 20 seats in a row, rows of seats. That's about 40 seats per row. So we sell the tickets, estimate how much money they'll get. So again, that keyword again, estimate. So we've got 20 times 40. So I've got about 800 seats. It's £3 a seat. So 800 times 3 gives me about £2,400. Okay, excellent. So the next question, question 9. Pause the video, have a go, and then we'll talk through it together. Okay, so Mel drives the bus, 39 weeks in a year, that's about 40 weeks. 298 miles is about 300 miles per week. An estimate for the total amount she drives in 1 year, I'm going to do 40 times 300, which gives me 12,000 miles. Okay, that's my estimate. You're trying to put an under or an overestimate? Well, I've said I'm traveling for more weeks and for more time, so that's an overestimate. Okay, as I have rounded both numbers up. Okay, right. So we now go on to question 10. Not many more to go now. Pause the video, have a go, and then we'll talk through it. Okay, so here they've already rounded the numbers for me, and they want me to say why it says it should be less than that. Well, she said she's buying more shirts and more cost, so it is an overestimate as she has rounded both numbers up. Okay, and that's exactly what they want you to say. They want you to appreciate, because she's rounding the numbers up, it will be an overestimate, so the price will be cheaper. There's a special offer. The t-shirts, £5.80 each. Buy 30 or more t-shirts, get 10% off the total cost. Work out the actual cost of buying 35 t-shirts using the special offer. Okay, so we're going to work out 10% off that. So 10% of £5.80 is 58p. So therefore the t-shirts now cost £5.22 per shirt. So I'm going to do £5.22, 522, and I'm going to times that by 3. I'll sort out my decimal point in a minute. So that's 6, 6, 15. Add along the diagonals. So I've got 1566, and I'm now going to change that into the 5.22 times 30. So I'm going to put the decimal point back 2 spaces because of the 2 here. Because I've got a 0 there, I'm going to move it back 1 more space. So I've got £156.60. Okay. Our last question, question 11. Pause the video and have a go at the question, okay? Okay, so Margaret's got some goats. On average, about 20 litres of milk a day for about 300 days, half-litre bottles, okay? Which means that if she's done 20 litres a day, that's approximately 40 bottles a day, okay? The way I've got that is because if it's 20 litres in half-litre bottles, each litre is 2 bottles, therefore it's 40 bottles a day. Work out an estimate for the total number of bottles at moment needs to fill it. So I've got 300 days of this times the 40 bottles a day would be 12,000 bottles. Okay. I hope that's helped you work out how to answer these estimation questions on the GCSE exam. Thank you.